Sil kept disrespecting my husband during a car ride to meet her boyfriend. When we got to the restaurant, she told us to leave if we didn't want to be there in front of everyone. So I said yes, I don't want to be here, and we walked out. So my 34F husband, 32M, is the youngest in his family. We've been married for a little less than a year now, but I noticed his eldest sister, 37F, is super difficult and controlling. My husband has warned me about her, let's call her Haley, ever since we met, and he was even super nervous before he introduced me to her. I made sure to be super nice and courteous, and we hit it off, especially that we realized we know a lot of the same people from our similar field of work. Over time, I noticed Haley's toxic behavior with her siblings, especially with my husband since he's extremely peaceful and non-confrontational. She would disrespect him a lot, give unsolicited commands. She even keeps commenting about how much attention he gives me and how she thinks we're super codependent and that he needs to give me less attention. Lol. We are not codependent at all, we just really enjoy hanging out with each other and prefer doing things together. Yesterday Haley and her boyfriend were visiting. She lives in another country, and she wanted us all to meet him for the first time. My husband was with them by himself for an hour or so, and while his brother, his wife and I were on the way to meet them, my husband kept texting me saying he felt like a third wheel and they weren't really involving him in the conversation. We finally get there and we meet them and we are deciding where to have dinner. We quickly noticed how chaotic Haley was acting, ordering us around to call restaurants and check for bookings, to go this way or that way, to hurry up because it was late and we needed to eat. My husband, Haley and boyfriend and I were sharing a car and my husband was driving to the restaurant. We were chatting and it was normal, until Haley decided to make fun of my husband and his slow driving and kept being super annoying to hurry up and drive faster. She even kept interrupting her boyfriend when he was telling stories to tell my husband to hurry up. Then when the brother and his wife called to say they arrived, and we still had 15 minutes to get there, Haley went full-blown bully. Kept disrespecting my husband in front of the boyfriend and my husband was trying his best to bite his tongue. It was so obvious that we all got so uncomfortable, especially the boyfriend who kept saying it's okay guys that we're taking longer, we're enjoying the conversation. The last straw for me was when we got to the area and it was so crowded and my husband was trying to make a U-turn to get to the restaurant, and Haley told him to stop here so she and her boyfriend can get out and walk to the restaurant before we can go and find parking, and my husband couldn't stop because there were cars moving all around. She threw a tantrum and kept berating my husband for not being able to stop on the spot when she wanted him to. It ruined the whole mood. Eventually my husband stopped a little further down the road and they stepped out. I was so upset and almost tearful walking into the restaurant and my husband kept calming me down saying it doesn't matter and he doesn't care what she says. I told him she ruined our mood by being disrespectful and I'm not going to mask being happy so she can have a fun night. We sit at the table and we were obviously in a bad mood, and Haley turns to my husband and says, "Are you guys okay?" And he says, "Yes, we're just tired and hungry." She noticed how I'm not engaging in the conversation at all and she turns to my husband again and says, "If you guys don't want to be here, no one is forcing you, you can leave, we came here to have a good time." I turn to her and say, "What did you say to my husband?" She says, "I was telling him how if you guys don't want to be here, I don't want to force you, you can leave," and I say personally, "Yes, I don't want to be here and I will leave." My husband then says to the group, "Okay guys, we're heading out. Enjoy the rest of the dinner. It was a pleasure meeting you, boyfriend," and we walk out. My husband agrees with me that she was out of line, but he hates being in any kind of conflict and is stressed out about the situation. I feel like setting boundaries is very important even if it means having to be in a fight or whatever. Was I the asshole for instigating walking out and causing a rift between my husband and his sister, and making her look bad in front of her boyfriend? Update 1. So around a week ago I posted here about my husband's sister Haley. I wanted to get an outside perspective on her behavior and if I'm valid for walking out on a dinner where she was introducing her new boyfriend to us because she was being extremely rude to my husband and everyone told me that I had the right to walk out and she was being extremely rude, which made me feel sane because sometimes I feel like I'm crazy with my reactions to very obvious instances of disrespect that the whole family seems to brush off. Anyway, so after the incident, I talked to my husband and told him that I will not tolerate disrespect from Haley and what she did was extremely out of line. I also told him that it is extremely upsetting when she disrespects him, and while I understand his stance on being the bigger person, a line needs to be drawn with her. He agreed and said he will talk to her. Next day they had a day planned with the boyfriend, which I thankfully apologized from before this whole thing happened. My husband's brother Jay called him before the outing and we all discussed what happened. Jay tried to explain how Haley doesn't have bad intentions etc. and I told him that I never said Haley was malicious. I just think as adults when someone is disrespectful the bare minimum is to acknowledge and apologize. After a long back and forth, they agreed that Jay will ask Haley to have a conversation about what happened with Jay present before going to their thing. And I told them I don't think I should be part of this conversation since I'm not part of the family and I personally wouldn't want to initiate the conversation with her. When I saw my husband after, he told me the conversation went very well and that she was super receptive and empathetic. She apologized to my husband, and she told him she was very worried that I judged her negatively based on this incident. My husband told her that you can talk to her about it. She is a very understanding and empathetic person and will hear you out. I was happy for my husband, but very skeptical. Honestly speaking, and knowing how narcissists think, she only apologized to my husband and acted understanding because she didn't want me to judge her further. Anyways, I told my husband of course she can talk to me anytime. I waited, and she never reached out lol. My husband hinted at me initiating, and I freaked out on him, telling him in what world does it make sense for me to initiate this talk? If she has a pride problem then it's her problem. Fast forward to yesterday, which was her last day, after a long day at work where I finished at 7:30 p.m. My husband tells me they are having a family dinner at their parents' at 8 p.m. to say goodbye to Haley. I told him that I don't have the mental capacity for that right now, especially knowing that there might be an back and forth with Haley, and especially not knowing how she plans to bring it up or decides to deal with it considering her pride issue. I texted in the family group that I apologize for not being able to make it today and wished Haley safe travels. My husband goes without me, and apparently Haley brings up the fact that I didn't come and they all have a talk about it. As I suspected, Haley is now saying that she doesn't think she was rude to me at all, and she has no reason to apologize to me. My husband tells her that she was in fact rude and she in fact needs to apologize. Haley suddenly twists the narrative and talks about how since the day she met me, she has been trying to build a relationship with me but I don't reciprocate. No idea what she's talking about here, since I'm the one who pushes my husband to give her attention and I'm the one who pushed that instead of getting her generic flowers for her birthday this year we should pitch in and get her a personal antique item that she would enjoy. Besides, this argument has nothing to do with the main issue. Anyways, long story short, I know I've been petty with not initiating and now going to the dinner, but I think it's a matter of principle. Also, I told my husband that if she doesn't want to reach out and talk, then that's something she is deciding, and I won't try and solve this issue for her. 8th. Comments where Op has replied. Comment 1. You're not the here. Not going to the goodbye dinner was actually very responsible of you. There had been no contact and no conversation with Haley. If you went, either there would have been a confrontation or you would have been made to feel even worse by Haley and her narcissistic attitude towards the entire situation. Haley has left and you really shouldn't give her any more brain space. She's not worth it. Oop, I'm really glad I didn't because I know myself and that day I was so emotionally drained I'm sure if she tried to pull something I would have overreacted and caused a scene. And knowing narcissists, that's exactly what she wants. She'll twist the narrative and be like, see? Your wife is unhinged and completely insane. I've dealt with a narcissistic mother my whole life and I know their ways, and I'm not giving her any ammunition. Comment 2. I agree, and while I understand why Op chose not to attend the dinner, I do feel like it was to her detriment as it seems that any time she isn't present, the sister is going to villainize her. If Op isn't there, there won't be much, if any, pushback to that characterization of Op, so I feel like she needs to be there to stand up for herself when this kind of thing happens. Otherwise, I worry she risks the sister's nonsense opinions of her seeping into the rest of the family's subconscious, even if they otherwise know better. Oop, I've been subjected to a smear campaign before by a narcissist and I know it is not limited to being there physically to defend yourself. She will tarnish my reputation if she wants to, whether it was in family dinners or one-on-one phone calls. I can't be there in every instance and defend myself. My goal right now is not to give her anything substantial to use in her smear campaign. Comment 3. As someone who is neurodivergent, I don't know how normal people can go through all these relationships and not be completely exhausted all the time. Oop, my poor husband has had and I absolutely can see his exhaustion and complete disinterest in talking about these difficult situations. Comment 4. There's a difference between avoiding conflict and letting people treat you badly. Does he stand up for himself in other situations or is it just a problem with his sister? Oop, just with his family tbh. With others he doesn't take shit. It's like he's been conditioned to believe that family is above normal human beings. Comment 5. I know this is not what you want to hear. But your husband's dynamic with his siblings is his business. Does it affect you? Yes. But they have an entire lifetime of interactions and communication styles etc. My sisters and I can be snippy with each other the odd time. If my husband ever butted in and said something to my sister I would absolutely murder him. I'm allowed to bitch at them or talk about them. He isn't. The fact that you took it upon yourself to address his sister on his behalf is strange. And now you are creating all this unnecessary family drama and hurting his family dynamics, and for what? She doesn't even live in the same country. You creating unnecessary tension in his family is not you being the hero. Their dynamics were long established and she wasn't directing them at you. Oop, I understand your perspective. I always knew that I had no say in the way she treated him, and I never inserted myself in the situation where I was telling her to back off or stop treating him like this or that. The instance in our wedding trip the first time, I stated my opinion after she looked at me waiting for me to weigh in, and I told her I thought she was overreacting and left it at that. In this instance, I didn't say a word, but I was obviously upset, and I will always be upset if someone is bullying and embarrassing someone I love in front of me, and I will be in a bad mood. The point that made me walk out of the dinner was when she said that she didn't like us being in a bad mood and that we can leave. I think that's completely disrespectful to both of us. Especially that she said it for everyone on the table to hear. That's when I expected at least a text from her checking in with me, not even apologizing directly, but just saying that she acknowledges it was an uncomfortable night and that she wishes it went differently, anything along those lines. But she didn't, and she is insisting I don't even deserve a check-in text after disrespecting me like that. Which I think is insane. Edit 1. I wouldn't be upset if I knew my husband didn't mind the way she treated him. I know for a fact, which is conveyed directly from him, that he thinks she bullies him and treats him like crap and it upsets him, but he decides not to say anything because she never listens and turns it into a fight. Edit 2. What you're saying expressing the special bond with your sister as siblings is very normal and it's endearing and people usually love it. Of course I wouldn't have any issue with this, in fact his brother has that with my husband and it's a beautiful relationship with teasing and making fun or using tough love, and I can obviously tell both sides are very content with this dynamic. The dynamic with his sister is different. It is not consensual. Lol. Update 2. Some comments I got after the first update was that I'm overreacting and that since she apologized to her brother then I should just get over it and not make it about me. I want to clarify a couple of things. 1. During the first convo with my husband, she apologized to him for being an ass in the car. She acknowledged that it was rude to ask us to leave the table if we didn't want to be there. She confirmed to my husband that she will have a talk with me about it. 2. I am indeed expecting an apology for putting me in that position at the dinner table in front of someone we barely knew and embarrassing the both of us. 3. She changed her mind the second time she talked to my husband about needing to talk to me about it, and that it wasn't rude to ask us to leave the dinner table. Anyways, with that said, since the last talk she had with my husband, she told both my Phil and Mill about the incident. The way she portrayed it was that I am upset with her and she doesn't know why, and that she apologized to my husband about the car, and she simply asked us during dinner if we are okay, and that I suddenly stood up and left the table without saying anything. Obviously that's a complete lie, but thankfully my husband told both my Phil and Mill exactly what happened and they both agreed that Haley was out of line and that she should indeed at least send me a text to check in. And they did tell her this, but she is refusing to do. Since that day, I haven't received anything from her, except today she sent me a private text about an event I am working on telling me about someone who is attending. Obviously she wants to continue life like nothing happened. So this is where I am at now. 1. Either send a thumbs up, and moving forward I will have minimal engagement with her. 2. Or send her a text that mainly says I know you don't want to reach out. I decided to initiate to clear the air. I don't appreciate when you treat my husband like shit, so when it happens in front of me in the future I will always get pissed off, and I think it was rude to ask us to leave the table in front of your boyfriend, and if you think that's okay then that's your prerogative, but it will definitely mean that I have to change my relationship with you, so lol. What do you guys think? I'm so tired of this whole thing. Thank you to everyone who has given me advice and has stuck through with all the updates. I appreciate you. Update 3. I saw some commenters wanting an update. Well, I finally lost my temper. Lol. Not sure how bad I made it, but well, it is what it is. Guys, she texted me this. Hi op. I'm sensing there's been a miscommunication. I spoke to brother and explained it when I was in country, but I guess it wasn't clear. That evening at dinner, what I was trying to tell you and brother is that if you are feeling tired please don't feel forced to stay. I was feeling bad because it seemed that you guys weren't having fun. I understand that it was misunderstood in a different way and just want you to know that my intentions were good and coming from a kind place. Me and brother will not always agree on things and we may get into arguments, but they are never serious and we quickly figure them out. I hope you don't misunderstand this as well. Happy to speak more if you want, but because I don't want there to be any misunderstandings or resentment. Here is what I replied. Hey, if you're going to chalk this all up as a misunderstanding from my end, then I don't know what to tell you. Here's the actual timeline. 1. You berate my husband in front of me and someone we just met. I bite my tongue from saying anything respecting that boyfriend is there and not wanting to cause a scene and make you look bad. Even boyfriend was feeling uncomfortable and was trying to lighten the mood. Twice he said it's okay guys, I'm enjoying this conversation. You ended that car ride with making it a scene yourself and leaving the car. 2. I witnessed my husband upset. I am upset, but we decide to push through and go inside just for you. 3. We are upset at the table. You notice this. You ask him if we are okay. He says yes, we are just hungry and tired. You decide to tell him that if we don't want to be here you don't want to force us and we can leave. In front of everyone, he says no, it's fine. You say this a second time adding that we are all here to have fun and you don't want us killing the vibe. He says it's fine. You say it a third time and I decide to interject and ask you what you're saying and you say if you guys don't want to be here you can leave. Again, everyone is listening. So we leave. If you think all of this only warrants a text telling me I misunderstood 2 weeks later, then okay, I understand her. Op, let me be clear. Do not insert yourself between me and my brother. Period. It's between me and him. Has nothing to do with you. We are working out our issues. Don't make it an issue between me and you. That is a line. Me, you berated my husband in front of me. You asked me to leave her. I told you what I meant. Choose to believe what you want. I'm trying to be nice and honest with you. You want to continue and make it a problem? Me, you disrespected me and I'm making it a problem? I'm done with this conversation. Good luck. I then block her for like half an hour. I unblocked her and wrote this. Haley, let me be clear. I have every right to be upset and even intervene when anyone treats my husband poorly. And when someone disrespects me and tells me I can either change my mood or leave the table, I expect an apology, not blame shifting that I misunderstood. Otherwise, I'm not interested in engaging in a conversation with you. Period. That is a line. She didn't respond. Lol, no idea how this is going to play out, and honestly I don't care if I mess things up.